Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are going to be looking at trading psychology,
Okay.
which is a topic I think a lot of our listeners struggle with, and I certainly do as well.
For sure.
And you send in some excerpts from Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to be going over today.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I mean, so many people struggle with this topic. And I think Mark Douglas just nails it. Like, he gets to the core of, like, what makes trading psychology so hard for people.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the first things that he really emphasizes is this idea of, like, the allure of trading, the incredible freedom that it offers, but also how most of us are not really mentally prepared to handle that level of freedom.
Yeah, it's interesting that that concept, that it's so alluring and it is so freeing, but that's exactly what makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
So what is it about this freedom that makes trading so different from other things in life?
Well, most of us have spent our entire lives like operating within structures, right? Like schools, jobs, even families.
Right.
And these structures like provide a sense of order and predictability,
Yeah.
We're kind of wired to follow rules and expectations.
Yeah.
But the market doesn't play by those rules.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't care about our need for certainty or our desire to be right.
So it's like we're suddenly like thrown out there without any boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder that so many people struggle, even those who've been, incredibly successful in other areas of their lives.
Right.
They come to trading and they're like, wait a minute, like the rules don't apply here.
Yeah. What I think is interesting, too, is he talks about how even childhood experiences can affect your trading.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was fascinating. Like, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So, Douglas, he suggests that like our only experiences, particularly the things that we were denied or restricted from doing as children,
Okay.
can actually influence our trading behavior.
Okay.
So like think about those, unfulfilled desires to explore, to learn.
To push the limits.
To push the limits, exactly.
Yeah.
They can kind of resurface in trading.
Yeah.
And make it difficult to like set boundaries or to follow a plan.
Because you're almost like trying to get back at something,
It's like we're subconsciously trying to recapture that sense of like limitless possibility that we craved as children.
Right.
But, without the maturity or the guidance to really navigate it effectively.
Right. And without the kind of structure that was imposed upon us as children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we're seeking that freedom, but then we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And then he also talks about early wins.
Oh, yeah.
And how those can actually be dangerous.
Yes.
So can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, Douglas uses this great analogy of like a novice trader who goes on a winning streak.
Right.
And, those early wins, they can create this like dangerous illusion of mastery,
Yeah, you feel like you've got it figured out.
Yeah, you think you cracked the code. And it gives you this false sense of confidence.
Right.
And that can be incredibly misleading and ultimately destructive if it's not built on like a solid foundation.
Yeah. And it's, kind of like when you're first learning to drive.
Yeah,
The first few times you get behind the wheel, you're like, oh, this is easy.
Oh, that is a piece of cake.
And then it starts raining or you get in traffic, you're like, oh my God.
Exactly. And it's the same thing in trading. Like those early wins.
Yeah.
They might make you feel invincible, but the market will inevitably throw you a curveball.
Right.
And if you're not prepared,
Right.
you're going to get caught off guard.
Yeah.
And this is where like understanding trading psychology becomes absolutely crucial.
Yes.
It's not just about having a winning strategy. It's about developing the mental resilience
Yes.
to handle the inevitable ups and downs.
Yeah. And one of the most important concepts that he talks about is that the market doesn't care about your feelings.
Oh, man, that's a big one.
Yeah.
The market doesn't care if you need to be right.
Right.
It doesn't care if you're afraid of being wrong.
Right.
It simply is.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the hardest things
It's so hard.
for traders to grasp is that it's not personal.
Yeah, it's so easy to personalize it.
Right.
We get angry at the market when we lose.
Yeah, we blame the market.
We feel betrayed
Yes.
when a trade goes against us.
Right.
But the reality is it's just a system,
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It's
Yeah.
not out to get us. It's not trying to reward us.
Right.
It's just doing its thing.
Right. But that's so hard to remember in the moment.
Oh, it is. It's so hard because as humans, we're naturally wired to seek explanations and to assign blame.
Right.
When something bad happens, we want to know why. We
Yeah.
want to find a culprit.
Right.
But in trading, the culprit is often ourselves. you know?
Yeah, and he would say that blaming the market
Hmm.
is a form of denial, right?
Absolutely. It's a way of avoiding personal responsibility,
Right.
which is essential for growth in trading.
Right.
You know, if we can't take responsibility for our decisions, both the good and the bad,
Right.
then we're never going to be able to improve.
Yeah, so how do we kind of start to change that mindset?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful things that Douglas talks about is this idea of like, shifting our perception.
Okay.
And he uses this really interesting analogy of a child who's been bitten by a dog.
Right.
Even years later,
Yeah.
the sight of a friendly, tail-wagging puppy
Yeah.
might trigger a fear response in that child.
Yeah, because they only see that one incident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That single negative experience has created this like powerful mental filter, this lens through which they now view all dogs,
Right.
even those that pose no threat.
Right, even if it's a tiny little chihuahua,
Well,
they're still terrified of it.
Yep. And it's the same thing with trading. We all carry these mental filters,
Yeah.
often based on like past experiences or, limiting beliefs.
Right.
And these filters, they shape our perceptions of the market.
So they can make us see a threat when there isn't one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We might perceive a market threat when in reality it's actually a favorable situation.
Okay,
But our filters are preventing us from seeing it clearly.
interesting. And what does he call that?
He calls this mental software code.
Mental software code.
Yeah, it's like this internal programming that's running in the background,
Okay.
and it's influencing how we interpret information
Okay.
and make trading decisions.
So how do we change the code?
Well, that's where the real work begins.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to dive into in the next part of this deep dive.
Okay, I'm excited.
Uh,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we start to change this code to make better decisions?
Well, Douglas, he outlines these 5 fundamental truths about the market.
5 truths.
5 truths, yeah.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
All right, so the first one is deceptively simple, anything can happen,
Oh boy,
right?
that's
It's like,
not what I want to hear.
I know, right? But acknowledging this truth is like crucial for success in trading.
Okay.
Because no matter how much analysis we do, how much back testing we do, how perfect our system seems,
Yeah.
the market can always surprise us.
Right.
So accepting this inherent uncertainty
Yeah.
is the first step to like freeing ourselves from this need to predict every move.
Okay, so we need to accept that we can't control everything.
Exactly.
All right, what's number 2?
Number 2 is that you don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money.
Okay, that's interesting because I feel like in most areas of life you kind of do.
Yeah, our entire like society is structured around this idea that we need to know the outcome
Right.
in order to be successful.
You got to have a plan.
We need a plan, a roadmap, a guarantee.
Yeah.
But, in trading, that kind of thinking can actually be really detrimental
Yeah.
because it sets us up for disappointment.
Yeah.
And it can lead to like, fear-based decision making.
So if we're not trying to predict the market, then what are we supposed to be doing?
That brings us to truth number 3.
Okay.
There's a random distribution of wins and losses for any given edge.
Okay, hold on. Can you explain what you mean by edge?
Yeah, for sure. So an edge in trading is basically like a statistical advantage.
Okay.
It's a strategy or a setup that gives you a higher probability of winning
Okay.
than losing over the long run, but it's not a guarantee.
Right.
Even with an edge, you're still going to experience both wins and losses.
Okay.
And they're often going to occur in these like random sequences.
It's kind of like flipping a coin that's slightly weighted in your favor.
Exact.
You're more likely to get heads,
Yep,
but you still might get a bunch of tails in a row.
precisely. And that leads us to truth number 4.
Okay, hit me.
An edge is simply an indication of higher probability, not a guarantee.
Okay.
This is a crucial distinction
Right.
because it helps us manage our expectations. We need to avoid this emotional roller coaster of thinking that every trade should be a winner.
Right, because you could have a good system but still have losing trades.
Exactly.
Okay.
Even the best traders in the world have losing trades.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if we can accept that losses are part of the game,
Right.
then it takes a lot of the emotional pressure off.
Yeah, and that leads us to number 5.
Number 5, every moment in the market is unique.
Okay.
This means that we can't rely on past events to predict future outcomes with certainty.
So just because a certain pattern worked yesterday doesn't mean it's going to work today.
Exactly. The market is constantly evolving.
Right,
It's a
yeah.
dynamic system.
Right.
So we need to be adaptable
Okay.
and we need to be present in the moment.
So all of these truths seem to be about, like, shifting our focus
Yeah,
from prediction to acceptance,
absolutely.
from trying to control the market to kind of surrendering to its uncertainty.
You got it.
Okay, so those are the 5 truths.
Those are the 5 truths.
So how do we actually put these into practice?
Well, Douglas offers this really practical exercise
Right.
to kind of bridge that gap between theory and action.
Right.
He calls it trading like a casino.
Trading like a casino. I like it.
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
So what is that? How do we do that?
All right, so it's based on this idea that a casino doesn't try to predict the outcome
Right.
of any single spin of the roulette wheel or hand of blackjack.
Right. They just know the odds.
They know they have a statistical edge,
Right.
and they simply play the game consistently,
Okay.
trusting that the probabilities will work out in their favor over the long run.
So we need to become the house.
In a way, yes.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So the first step is to choose a mechanical trading system,
Okay.
which means like a set of predefined rules for entry and exit points.
So we're taking our emotions out of it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We're removing our personal opinions and biases,
Okay.
and we're letting the system guide our decisions.
Okay, what's step 2?
Step 2 is to commit to trading at least 20 occurrences of your edge without deviation.
20. That's a lot.
It is, but it's necessary
Okay.
because it helps us build discipline
Right.
and it helps us overcome the temptation to like abandon the system
Right.
after a few losses.
Like if you have a losing streak, you don't just say, "Oh, this system doesn't work."
Exactly, you stick with it
Okay.
because you trust the probabilities.
Okay, what's number 3?
Number 3 is to predefine our risk for each trade
Oh.
and accept losses as part of the game.
So just like the casino knows that sometimes the house loses.
Exactly.
Right.
Losses are inevitable in trading.
Okay.
But if we manage our risk properly,
Right.
then those losses won't blow us up.
They won't wipe us out.
Exactly.
All right, what's next?
Number 4 is where we really step into that role of the casino.
Okay.
We focus on executing the system flawlessly,
Okay.
not on predicting outcomes.
So we're not trying to guess what the market's going to do.
Nope, we're simply following the rules
Of our system.
And that's probably the hardest part, right?
It can be very challenging.
Yeah, because we always want to think we know what's going to happen.
Right. Our brains are wired to find patterns
Yeah.
and to make predictions.
But in trading, that can really hurt us.
It can, absolutely.
Okay, so how do we make that shift? How do we go from trying to predict the market to just following the rules?
It's a process.
Okay.
It takes time and practice.
Okay.
It's about becoming more aware of our thoughts and emotions
Okay.
and recognizing when we're slipping into that prediction trap.
So we almost have to like observe ourselves
Actually,
while we're trading.
Mindfulness is a really powerful tool in trading.
Okay.
You know, if we can just observe our thoughts without judgment
Right.
and then make a conscious choice to align our actions with the system,
Right. Even when it feels counterintuitive.
even when it feels scary,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes the best trades are the ones that feel the most uncomfortable.
So the more we do this, the easier it gets.
Exactly. It becomes more natural,
Eventually becomes second nature.
like anything else you practice.
Exactly. And the more we practice this approach, the easier it becomes to detach from that need to be right
Oh,
and to simply trust the process.
okay. So trading like a casino.
Trading like a casino.
I like it.
Yeah.
So by embracing these 5 truths
Yep.
and practicing this casino method, we can kind of start to rewire our
No.
brains.
Exactly. We can start to develop a more consistent and less emotional approach to trading.
Okay, so it's not about becoming like emotionless robots.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's about understanding how our emotions influence our decisions
Right.
and developing strategies to manage those emotions effectively
Okay.
so we can make clear-headed decisions.
Yeah. So this has been really insightful. I'm starting to see how these concepts can help me break free from some of the mental traps that I fall into.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
It is. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure we connect this back to the listener's experience.
Yeah,
So what does it actually mean to trade in the zone?
that's a great question.
What does that feel like? So what does it actually mean to trade in the zone?
Well, trading in the zone is about finding a sense of calm amidst all the chaos of the market. You know, it's
Right.
about releasing the fear, the doubt, that constant need to be right.
So instead of feeling like you're battling the market, you're kind of flowing with it.
Exactly. You're no longer fixated on predicting every move or trying to force the market to conform to your will.
You're just kind of surrendering.
You're surrendering, you're trusting the process, and you're letting those probabilities play out.
It's like surrendering to a river instead of trying to swim against the current.
That's a great analogy. And when you reach this state of flow, You're no longer driven by fear or greed.
Okay.
You're simply present in the moment,
Okay.
observing the market objectively,
Right.
and taking action with clarity and conviction.
It sounds almost like a meditative state.
In a way, it is. It's about quieting the mental chatter, those doubts and anxieties that cloud our judgment. And it's about cultivating a deep sense of trust in ourselves and in the process that we've created.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening. I'm starting to see how all these seemingly like abstract psychological concepts
Yeah,
actually have like very real and practical implications for my trading.
that's the beauty of Douglas's work. He takes these complex psychological principles
Right.
and he makes them relatable and applicable to the everyday challenges of trading.
Yeah, for sure. So to recap, I guess we've learned that trading success is not just about having the right technical skills
Yeah.
or, a winning strategy. It's about understanding and mastering our own minds.
Absolutely. It's about rewiring that mental software code to align with the realities of the market.
Yeah.
It's about embracing uncertainty, thinking in probabilities, and taking full responsibility for our decisions.
And it's about finding that zone where we can trade with clarity, confidence, and a sense of inner peace.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal. All right, so before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to ponder. Okay.
What beliefs might you be holding that are creating unnecessary risk or preventing you from seeing the market's true opportunities?
It's a powerful question. I encourage you to really reflect on the concepts that we've discussed. Experiment with Douglas's trading exercise.
The casino method.
The casino method, exactly. And, just continue to explore this world of trading psychology.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is. And remember, the journey to mastering the market, it begins with mastering yourself.
Well said. All right, everybody, this has been another great deep dive. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.